Hello, everyone. Welcome to the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com.
Yeah, just to explain, I did not break out of prison. This is not like one of those striped.
You're living out of your car.
I'm not in my car.
And that's bad.
For people who are worried about you.
I'm wearing a Josh Gibson shirt.
I'd be wearing an orange jumpsuit if I was escaping from prison.
That's so funny. I'm going to be going to the game tonight, Russ, and I'm going to be bringing you and our buddy over there to some drinking toast. I'm going to try.
Oh, that's going to be the highlight of my night.
I know. You're excited. I had to be excited. So hey,
I don't even know what it tastes like.
Crap.
It's going to be really great.
It'll be interesting. So we do have a pre-show thing to talk about.
Yes.
Yes, absolutely.
So 45 years ago today, Yes released Close to the Edge.
Oh, man.
I think most people would regard that as their best album, and I do. The thing about it, what I think is lost in today's world with most groups is that there isn't like a coherent album anymore that sort of goes and flows from the start to the finish that makes sense. There's a few of them once in a while, but it used to be a lot of them. That used to be the whole reason and premise behind one. And this one's like so good that that's what it really does. Is it the way it starts, the way it ends, it's just really perfect.
It's a good debate, though. I mean, I was always actually my favorite Yes album is not Close to the Edge, but I do like it a lot. My favorite was always Going for the One, honestly.
Okay.
That was and they're both really tight. I mean,
it's really good. I mean, I can't argue.
Both are right in there, when they were at their best. But I thought, I always thought that Going for the One, especially Awaken was like that. To me, Awaken was one of their best songs they ever wrote. So.
Well, and the thing is that the title track from Close to the Edge and You and I mean, you put that with Awaken and Supper's Ready by Genesis. Those are the prog rock epics. Those are those 15 to 20 minute songs that I don't care if I'm if I'm driving, if I'm working out at the gym, if I'm listening to my iPod and that song comes on, I can't change it. It stays. I don't care what.
It sort of whisks you away. What's really lost on most groups now, and it's going to sound ridiculous because like if you were in band, you knew about the triangle, right? And you looked at it like, it's kind of like a useless instrument. But on these albums and the songs we're talking about, very important, especially Awaken. And when Yes would have these different group settings where, John Anderson was there or wasn't there. Anytime Anderson wasn't there, you got no harp and you got no triangle. And it made a big difference. It's amazing until you hear it that you realize it's missing. But because you would think ahead of time, what's the big deal? It's not. Who cares about the triangle? But it actually matters.
Maybe it's because I always recorded with prog people, but that there was definitely a love of the triangle and shakers in general, all different kinds of things. Like when we would record there, the drum track would go on first always. That's usually what you would do, and then the bass, so the whole rhythm section, which is the bass guitar and the drums, that's done first, and then overdubbing your guitars and your acoustic guitars, your pianos, and then finally the voices, and then after that, the first thing you would do would be go to the shakers and triangles and things like that, which is, you bring out, and they really do make a huge difference. I mean, they can lift the song up or down, and they can, they're simple little instruments that, not necessarily see all the time when it's being performed live. But, you do feel weird sitting there and playing a triangle live, I have to say.
Oh, I'm sure.
I've been in that spot and tried to do that and just I couldn't pull it off. It's looking cool.
Well, there's a timing to it, right? I mean, it's not like, it's like any other song, right? There's timing to the music, but it's harder with that because there's a delay too. And after you hit it, it's like, so you really have to be good at it. Like, it's not like everybody, you would think it's one of those things like a tambourine, you could just pick it up and just start shaking it and playing it, but it's really not true.
Yeah, and that album represents the what I consider the premier lineup of the group. And then after Close to the Edge, Bill Bruford leaves for King Crimson. And I always remember this BBC documentary on prog rock that said that Bill Bruford leaving Yes for King Crimson was like somebody defecting into East Germany, which I thought was a good analogy because Robert Fripp wasn't exactly known for his flexibility. But
I mean, it was a difference between music and math. Like, the math, I joke about liking math because I do like math, but I don't like it over music. And King Crimson was very mathematical in everything he did. And And you know, and that's a hard thing to really explain what that means, but everything had to be
precise,
and there wasn't really a musicality to it as much as there was, okay, we're going to do a measure of 12/4 followed by a 5/3 measure followed by a 15, and you're going to play this, and just because you can, and we were all good enough to do that. That's kind of a, I don't know. I'm not a really big fan of that style of playing, and I thought Bill Bruford was way more musical.
I'll tell you when it showed up. It showed up like, because again, when I started seeing Yes, Bruford was long gone, right? Alan White was my favorite drummer, and he's terrific. He is. But when they came out with the acoustic Yes stuff, Bruford was back to do that. And when you heard just like, I remember they were on, I don't know what talk show it was, and there was just 3 of them, and it was just Bruford and, like, you know, your Ringo Starr drum set, for lack of a better term. What he could do with that was unbelievable.
No, I mean, that's the thing. That is totally true. And you know, those guys who had those huge drum sets, a lot of that was staged just for show.
Yeah. Just go on to YouTube and do a search on Bill Bruford master class, and it's like him in front of a bunch of students. Yeah. Like, you know, he's like just showing them how, and it's incredible because he's just an amazing drummer. But it just, like, even the most simple things, it's just the way he does it is just out of its mind.
Yeah, the Symphonic Yes is what I was thinking of. That was the album. And
we get our guy in for the Columbus preview, who's going to come by to do that. We're going to have to talk about the kind of stuff because I know he'd love to get in this discussion. But we'll definitely do that, and then we'll be having some of the teams we're skipping, by the way, for those of you asking. A couple questions.
When he comes on the preview, make sure he brings his cord, because otherwise he's not invited.
I like that. He's a keyboard. He's a piano player. He'll just say, "I'm bringing my piano."
Okay.
So some of the questions I want to answer off the top. The teams we're skipping are because we have some really interesting people for them that we're going to bring on, and we're just trying to schedule. A couple of them I think I have Minnesota pretty much figured out for next week, and I'll let you guys know soon, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday.
People are asking.
And Nashville, and Nashville will be the same kind of thing. You know, we have buddies there, and I'm trying to get Pete Weber on to do that, and he'll be, I'm sure, happy to do that. So we're just working on a little bit of details here, and today we're gonna skip ahead to New Jersey. And also, I want to throw out this too. Many of you are opening the site up on an iPad today or a phone. You're seeing the mobile version of HockeyBuzz.com for the first time. This is something we kind of had to do for mostly monetary reasons. The way mobile advertising works versus like just throwing a regular page up. There's a whole new mobile advertising world, so we had to have a mobile site. I don't love it either. And some people, I think it's good. I think it's fine, but it's not, it's not, it does help. And it is more like a mobile site you typically see, but if you go to the bottom, you can also get the desktop site on. So click on the bottom in the desktop site, and that'll bring up the desktop site all the time, but there won't be as many issues. Also, the desktop site didn't always translate perfectly with the advertising onto the mobile site. So the mobile site should be a lot faster, a lot quicker, a lot easier. If you're just trying to do something quickly, eventually you'll get used to it. But we all hate change, but this is not what the new website will look like when we're designing the new website. This is a mobile website, clearly. And finally, as a public announcement today, we are going to be playing around with the live chat on YouTube. So a couple of you guys like Gambone, Brandon Blakely, William Coburn Jr., Martin, Randy, and the rest are in there already. And that is going to be something that if you guys want to play around with too, we're going to be in there. And if you want to ask questions as the show goes on, we'll kind of respond to that. So this live chat is right to the right of this if you're watching this on YouTube. If you're watching this on HockeyBuzz itself, we probably should have thought that through. But anyway, hopefully you're watching. If you're watching this live, it's best. If you're watching this on HockeyBuzz, it's pointless. So
I don't know if I can go on YouTube and not have the sound come through. That's the thing.
We can. You definitely can. I did it. I muted it. So. But we'll get to some questions. So if you have any questions on there, we may find another way of doing that.
No, well, actually, if there's a way for us just to let you know, there's a way to pop out the chat in a separate window and not have it open on the browser.
Oh, really? Okay.
Yeah. So I have it open. So if people want to ask questions at the end of the show, maybe we can answer a couple.
Yes, I see. So if you click on the 3 dots to the right of the live chat, it says pop out chat, and I just did it. And there it comes. So that's great. So there you can watch on HockeyBuzz, which is better for us for sure. So we'd love you to watch on HockeyBuzz, and then pop out the chat on YouTube. And
I got the chat going without. Okay.
Perfect. All right. So that's Google. They think of everything. All right. So let's get started because we got a lot to get into today, especially for you guys up in Calgary. Fun times ahead. All right. Here goes. Ready? Hello, Hockey World. It's Wednesday, September 13th, 2017.
I'm Michael Agello.
I'm Russ Cohen from Sportsology.
And I'm Eklund. You're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com.
Dramatic pause.
Having a chat room going is just one too many things for my ADD. I've already got my notes over here. I've got Reddit over there. I've got different things going here. I've got my texting on my phone on my computer now, so I can get stuff from people. Anyway, you're watching the HockeyBuzzcast on HockeyBuzz.com. This is the podcast that comes every Monday through Friday at this time to fill you in on the comings and goings in the hockey world. And today, we're talking about the possible goings of the Calgary Flames. I don't really think that's a possibility, but this is what happened. So yesterday, and for months now, almost like maybe for a couple of years, right? Calgary's been trying to get financing for a building out of their city, and they haven't had any luck, to the point where right at the beginning of the season, I think, or not the beginning of the season, but like towards the end of the playoffs it was last year, that Brian Burke came out and said that he thought the team could move at some point, which a lot of people just said, oh, that's craziness. There's no way they're going to move, and that there's just negotiations going on here. But Berkey was nervous about stuff like this, and because he was seeing this going nowhere fast, which it has. And now Ken King, who is the president of the team and representing the owners, came out and said, "We're done. We're done trying to negotiate a new arena with the city. We've tried for months and gotten spectacularly nowhere." He said, which is pretty. It's like not the actual word. I got to find the actual word, but spectacularly terrible, basically, is what he's saying. And but I'm sorry, spectacularly unproductive is the word. And he said that that's the way it is. And so, with the Calgary Saddle Dome being what it is, definitely not a modern arena. Still one of the older arenas now in the NHL, even though it's not a terrible arena. It's definitely something that's kind of fascinating to watch. And now, and him saying that on the eve, of course, on the day after Seattle mentions that they've got a big building coming up. And also the day after the Calgary mayor announces his re-election bid, there's a lot of things happening here. There's a lot of stuff at play.
But you know what? A lot of it's just talk, too. Like, again, when you search online, I found out that Calgary's lease expires 2033. Now, that doesn't mean they can't try and break it, but then there'll be like a lawsuit, right? So then there's that potential. You talked about Seattle. That's 2020 at best. And that's saying a fast job. And so, none of these things are today or tomorrow or even next season.
Yeah. Chris Daniels, who's the reporter in Seattle, who's been the guy that's been the conduit for most of the Seattle information, was interviewed on Toronto radio yesterday. And he said that with this $600 million agreement and the refurbishing of the Key Arena, that they've moved up the schedule, but the schedule to complete all the renovations would be October of 2020. That's 3 seasons from now. So if we're talking Calgary here and we're talking a credible threat, it's going to be the Videotron, the Video Dome, or whatever the hell it's called in Quebec City. And I think that, at least that's a viable threat. The whole thing here that seems to be coming out is that Ken King and the Flames had not been making any progress with this mayor, and the mayor came out with his re-election campaign, as you mentioned, Dak, yesterday or over the last couple weeks, and part of his presentation was building the new building. Well, he's not being cooperative in terms of getting the new building built. So I think this is a shot across the bow from the Flames organization. And if you see the comments that Gary Bettman made this morning, he basically called for Calgary fans to rise up and have their voices heard regarding the situation in Calgary. And what the Flames are looking at right now is that big new arena in Edmonton, getting all the concert dates, having a modern presentation, people spending big money there, and they want in, and they're not getting cooperation from the local government. So I don't blame the Flames from holding local government's feet to the fire.
Yes, but Edmonton took a bunch of time. Sorry, I'm eating. I hadn't been eating it, but Edmonton took a ton of time to get done, like 7 years.
And Edmonton threatened to move. There were hints. There were, we'll go to Vegas, we'll go to this, we'll go to that. This is part of the process. So if they need the threat of possibly moving out of Calgary to get things moving, then I think that's what's going on here. But I think they're also trying to pour cold water on this mayor, who is basically, I think, using them as a political stance, and trying to get some movement out of this situation.
Yeah, and that's what I'm gathering too. The NHL, I mean, it does bring up the bigger general.
But they don't have, again, this is a situation where really they don't have much leverage, because other than complaining that Edmonton's got their arena, they have a lease deal. If the city is supposed to upkeep the arena, which they may be in charge of, they could just ask them to do that. But they've been doing that. It's not like it's falling apart. It's one of the older ones. I get it. But they don't really have a great leg to stand on other than saying we're not happy with this.
Now, I mean, if I'm wrong, Russ, the Saddle Dome was built for the '88 Olympics.
Yeah, I think so.
So it's almost 30 years old, or maybe a few years older than 30 years old, because I know that when the Flames moved from Atlanta, they played in the Corral for a few years, and then they played in the Saddle Dome after that. But it took them a few years to build that, and I think it was part of, once they got the Olympics, they built the Saddle Dome, or that was part of the plan. But I mean, yeah, in this day and age, you cannot have a building that's 30 years old. Corporate boxes, access for big concerts, things of that nature. Your arena needs to be modern and money making. And when you build something in the 80s, it's not going to be up to the amenities that are commonplace in newer arenas. So that's why I think it's really important. And apparently the Flames were willing to put up to $200 million as part of this, as part of any agreement, but they can't get enough cooperation from the government in Alberta. So honestly, I'm not saying they're going to move, because I don't think they will, but I'll tell you right now, they're going to scare the life out of people in Calgary and that's what you're doing today.
Like, you go and look into YouTube, and people in Calgary are acting like they were acting maybe was about 10 or so years ago, when they thought the team was going to move because they had no money, it wasn't doing well, all before the 2004 Stanley Cup. Remember, it was like, There was a lot of gloom and doom. The Red Mile's not doing well, like all that. Oh, yeah. And so they are just trying to scare them. But at the end of the day,
I think they don't have any leverage.
They don't really have any.
I mean, if they've got at least till 2033.
That's what I found online, yeah.
If that's the case, then what is the point of that? I mean, the point of this is, I mean, granted, you don't want teams break leases all the time, I guess, but the NHL usually doesn't break leases. Usually,
no. But
I would be surprised if they did, and I think that.
But what they could be trying to do here, Ak, is the fact that they're not getting any kind of help from this mayor. So they're putting their chips in, maybe his competitor is more friendly to them, and by coming out now and saying this guy is using us and using the promise of a new stadium to get reelected, they're trying to pour cold water on that, and hopefully maybe he gets, he doesn't get reelected, and whoever comes in they can have a better working relationship with that guy.
Actually, I'm reading all the legalese. Not only is the lease not up until 2033, but that's when they have a chance to renew it for the next 50 years if they want. But it looks like that the Calgary does have to pay the city for the use of, and I think that's going to be part of the issue too.
Yeah.
We're talking another 16 years.
Yeah.
They're not going to wait 16 years for a new building. They're not.
No.
Now, the one thing.
There's something we'll get to before that. I think this is probably more about saying, listen, we've negotiated with this mayor a bunch of times, like you're saying, Mike. We've been talking to him and been spectacularly unproductive, and yet he's telling you he's going to make this happen. Don't believe him. I think that's part of. Calgary's a small town. Remember this. I mean, it's not. I mean, it's a city, of course, but it has a small town feel to it. So this is really the mayor putting out that thing about the new arena in that in that special part of the town. I forget what it's called, but it's really a cool area. I've been there, and I can see what he's saying. But then that would excite me if I'm a Flames fan. So the Flames have to come out and say, "Listen, we're not going to do this because we're done talking." This is really it seems like a political move to a degree.
I mean, that's what the Flames would have to do, is basically say, we're not going to pay you the annual amount, and then that's where it would become a court issue at some point.
At some point, yes, exactly.
And the one thing that, and this is just in the wind, it's not like, I mean, there hasn't been any kind of firm proposals or anything of that nature, but there has been talk about making a bid for another Winter Olympics in Calgary, 2024, 2028. If that happens, that would be, I don't think that they might be able to use the Saddle Dome as for something like short track speed, or speed skating or something like that, but they would need a modern facility for hockey and for other things. So that, maybe just like in '88, maybe the building of a new arena could be tied to an Olympic bid.
Do you need a modern arena for curling? Let's pause and think about that.
Stop.
Yeah, I mean, it's my son's favorite sport. I've told you that story. I think about
not even a sport. Come on.
We use the Canadian satellite.
You're alienating everybody north of the border. Come on.
Curling started by spewing dead cats across the ice. That's how it was. That's how it began.
Curling started by a bunch of guys who didn't want to clean the house, so they went and decided they would drink and smoke and clean the rink instead, and then turned it into what they called a sport.
I am not associated with any of these comments, folks.
Oh, I love curling. I've done it. There's a curling club not too far from me.
Hey, you look like you have curling muscles. I was just going to say that.
We'll talk about that.
Well, I can't curl. My hair is too short.
I would say my muscles are curling, but not in a good way. Okay, so Russ is just excited that he's going to get to try Drink It Toast tonight and take a boost. I'm fired up.
I'm very excited.
All right.
That's the reason why he's not showing up for the show tomorrow, because
don't have any caffeine, Russ, afternoon, because I'm
not going to have any. I haven't had any today, actually, so I'm good.
This will be your standard allotment for the next 3 days. Okay. Just saying, that's the basic thing. Here's the terms of the agreement are pretty interesting, Russ. You put it in their chat room.
It's amazing what you could find. I mean,
yeah. Well, this is all public knowledge. This is all public stuff. So. Yeah, well, they seem pretty locked in to me.
They're pretty locked in, as you can see.
Pretty solid, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, we'll get back to that. Calgary fans don't need to really worry or fret for a while, for sure. And I think at the end of the day, this does bring up the great debate, which is always a good debate that we don't have to get into today because we got enough to also talk about. But at some point, we've debated this before. What should a city and a citizenship, like Batman is telling people to get on the city of Calgary, right?
Yeah.
Is that really the right thing for him to say? I mean, is it really this?
What else can he say? He's got to say
people's responsibility to pay for the arena of billionaires. That's the question, and that comes up many, many times. And I live in a city that was built where the arena was built by Ed Snyder. And he put out the money and put it together.
But that's rare. I mean, it doesn't happen that way.
One of the last ones I think that was built that way.
Here's what an owner will tell you.
Caesar's arena was built that way, though, too, if I'm not mistaken.
I think it was. Here's what an owner will tell you, though, most of the time. And I don't disagree with them. Do you want a team or not? Would you be willing to pay something, or would you rather see your team go away? And, at the end of the day, you could ask fans of any city that have lost teams, and I was reading just in the YouTube part, they would rather their team be there, and they definitely would pay to keep it there.
Right.
And that is the reality.
It is the reality. I do totally agree. And I think that
it's like a fan, whether you're going to every game at home for season tickets or you're going 4 or 5 times a year, you're not paying expenses. You're not paying all those things that an owner has to pay.
Yeah, no, you're not at all. And that is always what's brought up during the strikes, to the lockouts, things like that. Like there's so many people that they still have to actually, take care of. Right. And there's so many things that, whenever the players sit there and say, "Oh, you're hiding revenue from us," for the revenue, stuff like that. The owners are quick to point out, "Well, you're also not really sharing the revenue, sharing the expenses with us." There's other aspects.
Players never sharing the expenses ever.
They're not paying for the secretaries and all that. They're not paying for all the hot dog vendors and stuff like that. That's why this is happening the way it is.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to type in the chat room, guys, because my computer's up here, so I'm not gonna type it. I'll just say Robbie that says it should be. So you have to pay attention to the chat room if you want to understand what that was. Anyway, all right, so moving on. Let's move on to NHL 18, which is coming out very soon, correct?
Yeah, in like 3 days.
That's what I thought. I can't wait. I always get it.
It's the 15th. It's 2 days.
2 days. I always get this game. I love the NHL series. I've been getting it since before it was even dated as NHL whatever. And what will happen is like it happens every year. I will play it a bunch for the first couple days I have it, and then I will go online and be schooled by 12-year-olds in Alberta who will then and Saskatoon, and then I will get frustrated and never play it again. But that's what happens with me with every one of these games.
But I always find something in the game that I guess somebody doesn't focus on. Like last year, I did something on just goalie mode. If you remember, that's all I played it in because I wanted to feel like a goal, and it's great. But it does really encapsulate what it's like to be a goalie, where literally the play is all by you, and you've got to be ready.
I love it. I didn't do that. I should have done that. I'm going to do that.
And then it's down at the other end for like forever.
I love the be a pro mode where you're actually going up through the AHL and stuff like that. And I love the sitting on the bench parts of the game where you're that's the greatest thing. And I always turn off the, because you can make it so that you put yourself on. I would always turn that off and have the coaches just like, so sometimes the coach wouldn't play me for almost an entire period. I would just sit there, and I'm thinking to myself, as an adult, what am I doing with my life? Like what kind of time is it that I sit here and, but as far as getting engulfed in, now this year, the cool thing that I've heard about so far, and I haven't really done enough research on it yet. I definitely will. We'll talk about this game. Russ, I also didn't know that you played this game. Like,
oh yeah, I'm not a great player as much.
Are you on PlayStation or Xbox, or what are you? Xbox?
I have an Xbox One. Yeah.
We should play. We should play like over the air. That'd be fun. We should I think we can get a hockey league going as long as you're not.
Don't include me. Don't include me because first of all, I don't have an Xbox One. I have an Xbox 360. I
have an extra Xbox One I can get you, Mike. You can play it.
I'm a very dirty player, and and as good friends of mine will call me, I'm a button masher. I'm from that era where.
I've got one thing going for me, and it's my username is Buzz Eklund, and people figure out I'm Eklund, so they'll talk to me about rumors the entire time. They'll play me, and they'll put one team actually put me on their team, which was horrible. I mean, they were all so good, and they were just they basically I think I ended up being the left defenseman or something like that. But,
plus, I could be the worst player. So you want me in your league because I'm a guaranteed victory for you.
I think the three of us should put a team together with we should get like Ty and we should get like Dan and we should just put.
That's fine. I'm willing to do that.
That'd be fun. That would be a lot of fun. It would be. I just have to. Then I could actually play the game because right now I can't play it for work. Like I could sit there and tell my wife, yeah, I'm playing the game for work.
Right.
I just have to say this for equal time. Stratomatic releases their game on September 30th,
Fantastic.
and the ratings are already out.
There's no equal time when you're comparing Stratomatic to a video game. I'm sorry, Mike. It's not even.
Stratomatic is clearly superior.
Right. Right. Like the abacus to the calculator.
The best hockey ever for video hockey, and I can tell you this because I just got one of these off of it was at a garage sale 2 weeks ago, and it was hilarious. I'm walking through the neighborhood, and they have like this big neighborhood garage sale thing, and we should have. So we have so much crap that we should have put out there. I'm really mad that we didn't. But anyway, so I get out there and I walk up to a house and they have a Coleco Pong game out there for sale.
Really?
Like the original Pong, with the dials.
Yeah.
And it's working. He's like, I don't know. I'm like, how much you want for it? He's like, 50 cents. I'm like, sure, I'll take it. So I bring it home. And it took a little while because I had to figure it, I didn't have you remember how you set them up? They had those like two things in the back that would hook into the antennas. What TV of yours has the UHF antenna thing still, or the VHF antenna?
Okay, so this is the ColecoVision.
No, this is maybe.
I think it's ColecoVision like that. I know, I remember how that.
Pong, and it had Hockey Pong on it, which is to me, Hockey Pong is still the greatest. Greatest video hockey game ever made.
I mean, there were better games than that.
Well, I mean. We definitely should get into this debate again, but I think I have right back here. Wait a second.
I will tell you this: nothing beat the intro of Blades of Steel. Nothing.
Okay. Funny you say that, Russ. Here you go behind me.
Yeah.
Blades of Steel.
Yeah.
The cartridge that sits on my desk all the time back here.
Awesome game.
Incredible game, but my favorite game, and I think it.
But NHL '94 was always like the high bar. Like that's when they brought it back. It was cool that they brought it back.
We did an NHL '94 charity tournament a couple years ago. That's another thing I would like to do. That was really fun. I got killed at that. Captain Neo and I used to play NHL '94 relentlessly when we lived together before I was married and he was married. It was like so yeah. But actually, I think Nintendo Ice Hockey is still my favorite. We talked about that one that came out the other day with the little guy, fat guy, and those are definitely my favorite.
That was good, but it wasn't great.
No, it was really good because it was the kind of thing that wasn't great on the outset, but once you got into the actual strategy of the three different players, it became a lot of fun, and you play against somebody. No, I actually, in the first arcade game.
Are you talking about NHL Open Ice?
No, I'm talking about NHL Ice Hockey for Nintendo.
Okay, because NHL Open Ice was fun. That was 3-on-3.
Yeah, this is Open Ice is good too. The first arcade game I ever got before I started collecting broken ones and fixing one.
Yeah.
Fixing them was Hat Trick, that was just 1-on-1 with a goalie on each side, and that's a phenomenal game too. So anyway, this is something that I could talk about forever, but I won't.
Like NHL Open Ice was great if you were a Ranger fan because you had like Gretzky and Messier, but like if you were a Leafs fan, it was like Freddie Modine and Steve Sullivan. No, I'm just kidding.
They put out 3-on-3 hockey a few years ago. EA Sports did,
Yeah.
And that was really good. 3-on-3 hockey was really good for EA Sports. But so anyway, getting into this, NHL 18 always predicts the season. I hope you guys haven't seen this yet or much of this, but I want to get into it because the new predictions are out. Anyway, I wanted to see if you guys wanted to figure it because we were talking yesterday about the Montreal Canadiens. Okay, the Montreal Canadiens are predicted by NHL 18 to win the President's Trophy.
That's funny.
That's fantastic.
With 109 points. We were talking about so they're the Pacific, Edmonton, Calgary, and Anaheim making the playoffs. So they got 3 teams making the playoffs. That's we could all kind of agree with that. Edmonton, Calgary, Anaheim that's going to be the consensus, I would say. In the Central, 5 teams making the playoffs. This also makes some sense. St. Louis winning the Central with 105 points. That's a little surprising for me, but could happen. Minnesota 2nd, Chicago 3rd, Nashville 4th, but with the same amount of points. I guess Chicago just beat them out on tiebreaker. And Dallas 5th. Okay, those 5 teams. I can see that in the Central. That's okay.
That's possible, yeah.
Now the Atlantic. Montreal 109 points, Tampa 104 points, Ottawa 104 points, Boston 98 points, Toronto 94 points. But
so now you're telling me out of the Metro, like 2 teams are making the playoffs.
All 5 of those teams are in the playoffs in the Atlantic.
That's what I'm saying. That'll never happen.
No, negatory.
In the Metro, Pittsburgh 98. But some of this has to do, I think, with what you guys were saying about like the fact that the Atlantic has a couple teams down there at the sort of towards the bottom that they can beat up on. But I think that Boston might be one of them. So anyway, all right, so Pittsburgh. The Metro, Pittsburgh 98 points, the Rangers 92, and the Capitals 92, and that is it. After that, it goes the Islanders at 87, the Hurricanes at 86, the Flyers at 81, Columbus at 81. That's a hard call.
That is friggin' ridiculous.
Now remember,
unless they have an insight into Sergei Bobrovsky's groin and he knows.
Yeah.
Come on.
That's ridiculous.
Now remember here about something about this, okay? All right, that there is a sorry, watch the chat room. See, I can't do too much distraction. All right.
I'm watching the chat, don't worry.
Okay, that the Columbus Blue Jackets, this is a little bit like Stratomatic. Like Columbus and Stratomatic won't be that good this year because they weren't very good last year, right? At times.
No.
Obviously they were good. They set a record. They had a great run and get a great run. But they didn't after that they struggled, right? So
they don't factor in They don't factor in playoffs in Stratomatic. They don't.
I know, and they don't in this either, I don't think.
No, they don't in this.
Right. This is based off the regular season last year, right? I mean, Russ knows the person who does the rating.
As far as I know, it's based off the regular season. I've never been told that playoffs matter.
So leading scorers, the top 5 scorers by team. I'll go through some of these really fast for you. Just like, all right, Anaheim, Getzlaf, Arizona, Domi. All right. Boston, Bergeron, Buffalo, Eichel, Calgary, Gaudreau, Carolina, Skinner, Chicago, Kane, Landeskog for Colorado, Cam Atkinson for Columbus, Tyler Seguin.
Come on, wait. No.
Cam Atkinson.
Come on.
Cam Atkinson, 71 points.
So Panarin's a non-factor. Did he get hurt in game?
That's fascinating.
I'll tell you something.
Panarin on this list. He's not in the top 5 scorers for the Columbus Blue Jackets.
I'll tell you something right now. I think the guy who did the ratings for Columbus was Larry Brooks. Because this is ridiculous.
Unless Panarin got hurt when they dropped the puck at the start of the season, would be in their top 5 scorers.
Right, exactly.
Dubinsky, Wenberg, and Jenner are the top 5 scorers. That doesn't make any sense.
They forgot Panarin is on the team. That's what they did.
Have Jenner at 51 points. You don't think Panarin's going to get 51 points?
That's insane.
It also has Hansel at 48 points as the 5th scorer for.
Oh, that's fine. But again, Panarin will beat that.
All right, Detroit, Zetterberg, Edmonton, McDavid.
Shocking.
But they also have Dylan Larkin at 40 points as the 5th leading scorer in Detroit. I think Dylan Larkin's going to have.
They'll get more than that. They're basically too much of last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Florida, Barkov. Obviously Edmonton, McDavid. LA, Kopitar. But Toffoli with more points than Jeff Carter.
It'll be
Carter. Points, Jeff
Yeah,
Carter.
Kopitar is not going to outpoint Jeff Carter.
No way.
Toffoli is certainly not going to outpoint Jeff Carter.
No.
Minnesota, Granlund. Galchenyuk from Montreal with 69 points.
No,
that's possible.
Pacioretty 67, Durant 66. The Predators, Forsberg. Okay, the Devils, Hershier.
Wait, Nico Hischier is going to be the top scorer on the Devils?
He's an outscorer Taylor Hall.
Nico
That's
Hischier
tough.
with 77 points. Taylor Hall with 72 points. We're going to talk
77?
about that.
Wow.
Anders Tavares. The Rangers, Mr. Miller, my favorite buddy, 74 points.
JT Miller will not lead the Rangers in scoring.
No.
74 points, which is 21 points more than they say Rick Nash will get.
Well, that's fair. I mean, unfortunately, I think that's right.
Zuccarello with 49.
No, that's about right. That's where he levels off at.
So who's the leading scorer on them? Kreider?
Yeah, it could be Kreider. It could be Shattenkirk. This could be a year like when Brian Leetch led the team. Shattenkirk leads the team.
There you go.
Wouldn't shock me.
Ottawa, Carlson. Okay. Flyers, Giroux. Now, what's interesting on this is although Hischier, I still can't say his name right. Hischier.
No, you said it right that time.
Hischier, right? That's right. Sorry, I got to get it right. Hischier. It's like he and her. Hischier. Like Hischier sheep. Got it. All right. Hischier. Hischier sheep. So he's on the top 5. He's the top scorer for the Devils, and yet Nolan Patrick not in the top 5 scorers for the Flyers.
Well, no, I think
because he's going to be in the WHL.
I mean, again, it's a 50-50 proposition if he makes it, and they're basing it on last year when he was hurt. I mean, that's fair.
So they go, okay, Giroux, that's fine. Pittsburgh, Malkin, 88. Crosby, 85. Kessel, 78.
Well, Crosby, when's the last time he scored 85 points?
Yeah, Crosby would have to be hurt to score 85 points.
Correct.
San Jose, Pavelski. St. Louis, Tarasenko. Tampa Bay, Stamkos. Toronto, William Nylander.
Baloney.
70 points.
Baloney.
JVR, 63 points. Austin Matthews, 61.
Yeah.
Mitch Martin, 61.
All right.
The Marner and Matthews at 61. Vancouver Erickson, Louis Erickson with his big. I mean, that is crazy to me on so many levels. I can't even begin to tell you. For the Vegas Knights, who do they think is going to be the leading scorer of the Vegas Knights?
Brandon Leipzig.
Nope.
No. I'm going to go. I saw who it was yesterday.
I would have gone with James Neal.
Shipachet. They think it's going to be Shipachet.
Nope, Shipachet, they have his 3rd.
No, it's somebody else. I saw who it was.
Marchessault? They think it's going to be Marchessault?
Marchessault. Yeah.
No. Washington, Ovechkin, and Winnipeg, Scheifele. That's fine.
Just to give you an idea, last year Crosby had 89 points in only 75 games. Come on.
Right. So he's going to have to be hurt again. I remember Crosby had a horrendous start, right? Wasn't
horrendous, and the year before was not a great year, and he still had 85 points in only 80 games. He didn't even play a full year.
No, and I think the biggest thing for Crosby is going to be, honestly, this year, and I'll talk about this when I get to Pittsburgh, but when I've been doing my previews for this team, Jake Getzel is going to be enormous.
Yeah, Getzel could be huge for him.
I mean, he could really he brings Crosby an element that Crosby hasn't had really before, I think. All right, top goal scorers. These are all pretty. These are fine. I'm going to go with these. I won't go back that. Top 10 save percentages. Okay, for Carey Price, number 1. That's fine. 930. Number 2, for the 5th place Toronto Maple Leafs, Frederik Andersen. 927. How does Frederik Andersen get that good of a save percentage with that kind of team in front of him and then not division? That's nuts to me. How's that work? Anyway, 3rd, Pekka Rinne.
Well, based on the fact that they say Matthews is getting 61 points, they're saying that the Leafs are going to have trouble scoring.
Yeah, they are. They are saying Leafs are going to have trouble scoring, which is, I guess, possible. But, I don't know. The playoffs are upon us now. Ready?
Yeah.
We go through this really fast because I want to do this. Dallas takes out St. Louis in 5 games. Then Chicago takes out Minnesota in 6 games, which happens every year, I think.
Right.
So that's just a law. Calgary takes out Anaheim in 7 games. Anaheim loses another 7th game. Oh, Lord.
Not happening.
Nashville takes out Edmonton in 7 games. I would love to see that. That would be hilarious. That would be great. I could totally go with that. On the other side of it, Pittsburgh takes out Boston in 7 games. The Rangers take out the Capitals in 7 games. The Maple Leafs take out the Canadiens in 7 games.
The celebration there would be akin to winning the Stanley Cup.
That would be the biggest thing that's happened in Toronto since
it would be. I don't even think that would happen, to be honest.
Measuring incident. Tampa takes out Ottawa in 5.
Okay.
Now we're going to the second round. Chicago takes out Dallas in 5. Nashville takes out Calgary in 7. So Nashville doing what I kind of said they would do yesterday, actually. Going pretty far, right? On the other side, Pittsburgh takes out the Rangers in 5. That's probably what would happen. It seems to be what happens.
So you and a computer programmer are on the same wavelength. That's good.
A little bit, yeah. Tampa takes out Toronto in 6. I can see that.
Yeah.
So that leaves your final 4 of Chicago, Nashville, Pittsburgh, and Tampa. All right, so Chicago takes out Nashville in 7. That'd be a great rematch, wouldn't it? After Nashville swept.
Yeah, I don't see that happening though. I don't.
No, I think if they play, I'm giving it.
If they matched up, it would go the other way.
Yeah, I think Nashville's. I mean, they showed last year they can play that team. Pittsburgh sweeps Tampa in 4.
No,
which will not happen either.
No way.
And leading to the final Stanley Cup of Chicago versus Pittsburgh, which is the one Stanley Cup that I really do want to see because we haven't seen it.
That was possible 3 years ago. I don't think that's possible.
I don't think we're seeing that this year.
No, I know, but isn't that the one team that the one you kind of wanted to see, like LA Pittsburgh or Chicago Pittsburgh at some point?
I'll save my cup prediction to our preview show, but I'll just say it's not going to be Pittsburgh Chicago.
Chicago would sweep them, they say, and then win the Stanley Cup.
Yeah, okay, Jesus. Yeah, okay, with Michael Kempny as their 4th defenseman. Way to go.
The top 10 playoff scorers, Patrick Kane would lead the way, of course, because he's pretty good. Ryan Ellis will be 4th in scoring in the playoffs. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, so let's I'm gonna move on in a second. I just want to do some of the winners that they have here. The President's Trophy. So that's good. Okay, let's go to the Hart Trophy. Their Hart Trophy, Patrick Kane. Their Norris Trophy, Erik Karlsson. Their Lady Byng, Patrick Kane.
Boy, they're going on a limb on this one.
Yeah,
I know. Their Calder Trophy, He Shears Sheep.
Their Vezina Trophy winner, Carey Price.
The Conn Smythe Trophy, nope, Corey Crawford. The Vezina Trophy winner, Carey Price.
Corey Crawford.
Well, if they win the Stanley Cup, yeah.
Yeah.
Sure. The Jennings Trophy would go to Lundqvist.
That's probably not happening.
The Bill Masterton Trophy for outstanding overcoming something in a video game.
Antoine Roussel.
Wait, what is that exactly? What are they predicting? A horrible. If you're predicted to win the Masterton Trophy by a video game, you better lock your doors because
the Lady Byng is going to be between Brad Marchand, Antoine Roussel, and Brendan Gallagher.
Here's the reason. The reason the Rangers don't win the Jennings is because I don't have enough faith in Pavelec.
Yeah, yeah. I think Brooks Orpik, who's going to win the Masters, and they say, I think he should lock his doors and just be worried for his life.
Please end this.
Selfie would be Bergeron again. The Ted Lindsay Award would be Patrick Kane, and the Maurice Richard Award would go to Connor McDavid. So, and someone the first comment I saw about this, which is absolutely true. Cool. Now run this 20 more times and compile the average stats. I would be interested to see how that actually moves. I would like to see them do that too, because
they should do that. They should say we ran this 50 times and this is.
Why don't we do that? We could do that.
We get it. We can do that
because that would give you just one time through. I mean, that's I think the Flyers were winning the Stanley Cup 2 years ago or something like that. I don't know. Anyway, I love the fact they do it. It's always kind of fun. It puts pressure on Montreal, which they don't need. But anyway, that's gonna be fun. But let's jump into New Jersey before we get into New Jersey. There were a couple more rookie games last night. The Canadians played the Vegas Knights. Isn't that right? Is it the Canadians? I think they played the Knights.
I think they did. Yeah.
I thought it was the Canadians. I know the Knights lost 6-1 despite scoring first, and in a rookie game. That was just a rookie game, obviously, but
that will mirror the regular season on a lot of nights.
Yeah, I mean the rookies for the Knights should be just as good as the rookies for anybody else, but apparently the goalie that played for the Knights had the first half of that game shut out the Canadian rookies.
Actually, it's not true. You know why? Because some of the guys playing are guys that were drafted 2 years ago. And some of the guys who just came over from overseas, like the Knights don't have any of those guys.
Yeah, that's true.
They've collected some, but they're not their guys.
So those of you in the chat room, do us a favor. Once the Devils are done, we'll answer like a couple questions from the chat room every day. We'll do that. We'll try that. That'll be fun. So we're going to do the Devils thing first, and then so get some questions ready. You can post them now, but if you want to just wait to post until we're done the Devils, that's fine.
Well, just a couple of things before we do the preview. Chris Johnston from Sportsnet reported Pasternak is still in the Czech Republic, so he will not.
Oh yeah, sorry.
He will not be at the opening of training camp.
I told you he wasn't coming.
Even if they sign him, I heard he might not be in training camp.
Right, because it takes.
No, you can't get a visa overnight in this country anymore. And see, that's the thing. Meg, I told you that at some point I felt like he was going to hold out of camp, but I also feel like this is going to be gloom and doom for the Bruins because this is not going to mix well in their locker room.
Yeah, and as I said yesterday, when Brad Marchand comes out and says, "I don't have a problem with him making more than me," he's not doing ownership any favors, but he's got his contract, so he doesn't really care. He's going to get paid his money, and he knows that the success or failure of that team could rely on when Pasternak gets in because they're going to be in a tight race. It's going to probably be a couple points between them making or missing the playoffs, and if Pasternak's out for 5, 6, 10 games, that's going to hurt the Bruins' chances.
Ask Marchand if he has a problem with Pasternak. If Pasternak's not there for the first week of camp, he might change his tune.
Now, the other thing was Elliot Friedman was on a local Buffalo radio show and said that, talked about the Duchesne situation.
Yeah.
There is talk right now about him not showing up for the beginning of training camp.
Yeah, I think that's going to happen.
Friedman thinks that he should show up because if he doesn't show up, it's just going to make things more difficult in terms of them getting a trade done. If basically Duchesne should go to camp, start the season, play, try not to make any waves, and the deal will get done. But if he tries to force Colorado's hand, Colorado is apparently in a mindset right now. Sakic is like Yzerman was with Jonathan Drouin in Tampa, and he's not going to be held hostage by a player. But you know what? This is Colorado's fault. This is they were the ones who tried to trade.
This also feels like I love Elliot Friedman. He's one of the nicest guys out there too, and super good to me and all that stuff. But this, I have to call him out a little bit on this. It sounded a little bit like he's doing Sakic's business here, like by saying that he should show up to camp. Like I think that, if because of what we know of the fact that the agent, I have good sources that the agent and Duchesne are both unhappy with some of the deals that were turned down and feel like if you're not going to take those kind of deals, you're never going to trade them. So if you're them, you're sitting there frustrated. Duchesne's a great guy. He would not sit out. We talked about this. He would not sit out unless there was a really good reason.
True.
So for Elliot Friedman to say that you should just and trust that this is going to happen, I don't know. It's a really hard one. That sounds like that sounds like Sakic, who of course is one of those Canadian guys who's tight with Elliot, saying put this out there. It feels to me like that. I might be totally wrong, and I apologize if I am. But if I'm the agent and Duchesne, they're definitely thinking that way. I'm just throwing it out there that they are thinking that for 100% that that's what's happening here. So that's a really messed up situation. I don't think he's going to show up for camp. Robbie Stutz, by the way.
I think
in our chat room.
I think he shows up.
By the way, YouTube chat room, check it out. On this, it's pretty fun, and definitely. Where you can open it in a separate window, and we'll show you how to do it later. So let's go to the New Jersey Devils, shall we? All right, or should I say the Philadelphia 76ers? No, the New Jersey Devils, both owned by Joshua Harris. Both owned by Joshua Harris, and the Devils are probably on a better track than the Sixers.
Yeah, I think they might be on a better track long term. People will argue because the Sixers, they have the great team this year if they're all healthy. So we'll see. Yeah,
finished 7th in the Metropolitan Division, 17 points behind the 6th place team, Carolina. This was a bad team last year. 61, minus 61 goal differential, never good. Goals per game, they were 28th. Goals against per game, they were 25th. Power play percentage, they were 22nd. 23rd. So in the 20s on all four of those, you're not making the playoffs. Young forward group, 25.3 age. Young forwards for sure. So that's something to look forward to. A lot of Americans on this team.
Oh yeah,
a lot of Americans on this team. And this is the craziest stat for them. And I'll throw this out right away because I've been doing this now of the top 18 players. So you get your top, your 12 forwards, your top 20 players, your 12 forwards, your 6 defensemen, and your two goalies, according at least to the site rosterresource.com. a grand total of 4 Canadians out of 20. That is something that I've never seen before. That is insane. And, you know, honestly, one of those is John Quenneville, you know. So
I think he's going to make it.
He should make it, but after that, you've got Severson, Henrique, and Hall. So that is not a lot of Canadians. You know, in the meantime, you have 6, 9, 12, 14 Americans. 14 Americans, 4 Canadians on this team. And of course, Nico, of course, a Swiss player who everybody's looking forward to seeing in Nico Hischier. Hischier. Sorry, Hischier. I'll get this name right. Sorry. This is a team, again, a similar team to like a lot of first round draft picks on this team, but a lot of young players. You know, great goaltending in Corey Schneider. Without Corey Schneider, this team's in dire straits. Corey Schneider will keep them in games. But the funny thing about this team and what's really interesting, so they made who was it that they got the Will Butcher, okay? Will Butcher, the NCAA guy, said his reason for going to the Devils was, quote, because I like their run and gun style. To hear somebody say that about the Devils to me was just unbelievable.
Well, they're going to be this year. I think that's what he's looking at, because when you're adding Hischier and you have Hall and you've got Zacha, those are guys who could really skate. Johansson can really skate. And now on defense, yeah, you know what? They have, I got to tell you, that their 3 pairings on defense are pretty damn good.
Yeah, they're not bad. Greenlove, Morris, Everson, Butcher.
And with the retirement of Ilyas, with the injury to Travis Zajac, there's going to be a turnover up front on the Devils. Not only Hall, not only Hischier, but we're talking, you know, guys like Miles Wood and, you know, possibly Michael McLeod, although they might probably want him to.
Yeah, I don't think McLeod's going to make it.
You know, Quenneville is definitely a possibility. Blake Spears made the team last year.
Yeah.
So you're gonna have a lot of young guys. Now they added Drew Stafford as a veteran sort of plug-in, and I think that, you know, they're hoping that he's one of these guys like Lee Stempniak a couple years ago, where he has some success and maybe they can trade him off at the deadline and get a draft pick or a higher draft pick for him. But it's right now it's just basically a lot of youth and good goaltending, but there's not a lot of defense there. I think that there's still a year or two away, but there is some talent in New Jersey, and I think they're on the right track.
There's some talent there. If people go later to Sportsology, I have a video up in my Metro rookie camp edition where there's a shot of Blake Spears making a really nice play on a goal. Devil sent me some video on that. That was good to see. I also look at them and I say, you know, Jimmy Hayes is an invite. Like, he could still make this roster, and that's somebody who could help this team and even give them a little more size. I mean, they have Brian Boyle now, so they have some size and speed. They're not going to be easy to play against. This Devils team, if they play the way they've been playing the last couple of years, they are going to sting some teams because they're going to keep games close. They're going to have some good grinders out there. They have, you know, if Will Butcher turns into the defenseman I think he can be, they've got some puck-moving defensemen. They have one on every pairing, which is nice. I kind of disagree with roster resource having Severson on the second pairing. I don't think that's going to happen, but it could. It could. I mean, you're really putting Andy Green and Lovejoy as your top pairing? I wouldn't.
No,
I mean, Russ, if I had to predict what their defense is going to be, it's going to. I mean, I'm not saying pairings. It's going to be Green, Lovejoy, Moore, Severson, Mirko, Mueller, and Butcher.
Yeah, I think you're right. I think Mueller will make it over Santini. I don't think Severson should be on the second pairing. No, I think he should be on the top pairing. Andy Green at 34 should be on the second pairing. I'm sorry. Like, that's just Ben Lovejoy can handle himself. He doesn't. You don't need 2 veteran guys up there. When you're matching up against other teams that you need some speed, you're going to need Severson. So I don't think that pairing would last long. But you never know. But I mean, otherwise, look, Zacha, I think will have a really good year.
Yeah,
they've got a pretty good sized team, and if you look at it, most of their players are 6 feet and over on offense and on defense.
Yeah, they're big.
They're big.
I do agree with you. I noticed that too.
I mean, you know,
they're big and they're fast. They're going to be hard to play against. They could, you know, will they be able to get out of the basement of the
yes, they'll get out of the basement. I mean, it's still an awfully tough division, and
who's going to go to the basement below them?
I won't say right now because we haven't done all the teams.
Wow, you're that low in Philly. That's my prediction.
That's your prediction. I'm not saying one way or the other.
I don't have Philly down there at all, but
I may or may not.
The team that I picked for the bottom of the division is having arena problems right now.
Wow. All right, we'll see. But no, I think that no, that's not possible. No. All right, we'll have a really good, interesting thing when we get to that then. All right. So, not a playoff team.
Not a
playoff team.
Yeah, not a playoff team. On the right track, though. I do like that. I like Ryan Clough as an assistant coach, too. I think that was a good hiring. I do think Clough works really well with a lot of people have told me that and remember in San Jose, especially, how people said he worked really well with young players. So,
yeah, if you can make
there's a guy on the YouTube chat room that's saying he wouldn't want to play New Jersey, needing a win to make the playoffs. I agree with that. I just don't like agreeing to a guy named Snots. I don't agree with Snot.
Well, you just have to.
I'm not gonna. No.
All right. So, if any questions you guys have in there, it'll be great to just throw up any questions you want, and we'll try. I'm going to go back and see if there were any back there. Do you guys see any clear standouts from the prospect tournament?
I haven't seen enough of any of them to be able to say that. I've been seeing trips.
The one prospect tournament that I saw, which was Montreal, Ottawa, and Toronto, the standout for Ottawa was Thomas Chabot, which is not a big shock because Shabbat's probably going to make the Sens this year, especially with the news that came out yesterday that Carlson isn't even starting training camp. He's probably going to him being out is probably going to last into the regular season, maybe a few weeks, but it makes sense. Take your time with him because he's such an important guy. Don't rush him back. Let him get to 100% because 100% of Carlson, you'll make up any ground that you lose. With Montreal, I would say actually their goalie McNiven looked pretty good, which but I was not overly impressed with Noah Juleson when I saw him. Russ, it's just
depends on sometimes who they're playing with and those kinds of things as a defenseman.
But again, it's like it's one game in a rookie tournament, and some players who've played in 2 or 3 rookie tournaments, they get to the point where it's like, can we get to training camp?
Yeah, the one thing I'll caution everybody with, and a lot of the information I use from this comes from somebody that's there. Even if you're watching it, unless you're watching it on like a high quality, like NHL's, like on the NHL Network or something, like someone pointed out on YouTube, the camera angles are brutal, and some of the things that you're seeing are not necessarily great to sort of identify good players and bad players. But the other day I saw Clint Costin had a couple of power play goals. I think he's got 3 goals, if not more. That's a guy I would not be shocked if he makes St. Louis, and I wouldn't be shocked if he's a Calder candidate either.
Right. Philip Schlopik for Ottawa also looked pretty good, and Liljegren after a really bad beginning had a good second game. Blackhawks.
Jack out 4 to 6 months. Of course, I had to mention that as well with the pectoral injury. So that's a big deal.
Who was that? I'm sorry.
St. Jack.
Yeah. Oh yeah, he's going to be out until January.
Yeah.
Blackhawks 61895 in the chat. Thoughts on Alex DeBrincat making the Hawks roster, Russ?
Yeah, I think he makes it, and I think he'll be a Calder candidate. I think he's going to play with Kane, and I think he's going to be a big cog for them, bigger than I think some people are thinking right now.
Okay, Ak.
They were actually. I heard great things about DeBrincat and so far in everything he's shown for the Blackhawks. Yeah, they really like him a lot. I heard he was very good in every situation they put him.
For all questions goaltending, I have to go to you here. Vasilevsky from Tampa becomes a top 5 goalie in the league this year. What do you think?
This year, he's on his way to becoming that. He will be that eventually in his career.
But this year?
This year, yeah. I'll say yes. I will say yes.
I don't think so. Not yet.
I think he'll be a top 10 goalie because I think Tampa's going to be one of the best teams in the league. But
I'll say top 10.
Yeah.
Come back to me for a second. Let me look at this for a second. That's
all right.
I'm willing to say that so far, but let me just check one thing.
Okay, while you're checking that, there's a Rangers question here. Brandon Blakeney asks, who do you guys think the Rangers could make a trade for before the trade deadline this year? I think the Rangers are very weak at center, but I'm still hoping for one more big trade for a cup run. Russ?
Well, I mean, you're pretty much stuck with Nash. I don't think there's any trade to be made. He's got the hammer with that, and he wants to stay. So they're going to have to just live with Nash the entire season. It's going to be hard to trade for a center. I mean, your best bet is if Elias Anderson does really well with Hartford, maybe they could call him up at some point this year, and that would be like making a trade. And that would
well, let me throw you a scenario and let's see what you think of this.
Yeah.
Because there are some people who believe that San Jose will not be a playoff team this year.
It's possible.
If that is the case and Joe Thornton is a UFA, do you think that the Rangers would trade for Joe Thornton? Because he's always
think they would. Yeah, I think they would explore it. Gorton is a former Boston guy, but I don't think they would give up such major assets to get him. I think that's the issue now. Gorton seems to really be holding on to them, and so again, are you going to trade Elias Anderson for him? No. Are you going to trade? Cholito for him? No. So then what are you really going to trade? Like, their system's not as deep as it used to be. Are you trading a roster player for Joe Thornton? Then you're probably weakening yourself. So I don't think that's the route to go.
Maybe you trade a first-round pick, but
I don't think that's the route to go.
I'll answer this one. Geo3183 in the chat. Will Brendan Gooley make the Sabres roster or start with the Amerks? He's going to start with the Amerks. The Sabres added Scandella. They added Beaulieu. They added Victor Antipin from the KHL. They've got probably 7 NHL defensemen. And I think that they're going to let Gooley play in the American Hockey League and get some experience at least a year. They've called him up a couple times. They called him up for 3 games last year to play. It was good for him to take a look, but I think for him to be properly developed, he's going to have to play in the American Hockey League.
Yep, I agree with that.
All right, so I'm doing my analysis of the top 5 goalies. It is tough because I think Bobrovsky's in there. I think Holtby's in there. I put Matt Murray's in there, and Dubnyk and Price. Not Dubnyk, but Price. I would say yes to. So that's 5 right there. So I think that in the next group, though, you'd have Rene and Vasilevsky, and I would put in the next group Tuukka Rask still perhaps. And then I'm also not talking about Jonathan Quick. So there's a lot of possibilities there. Quick is I've got to see him be healthy, but Vasilevsky, I think is as quick as anybody in the NHL right now, as far as back side to side goes, especially. And he will eventually dominate in this league. It's just a matter of some of these older goalies may have to fall off the wayside before he's actually considered one of the top 5s. But it's close. It's not.
Well, here's the question that Mike and I will certainly fight about. We're basically being asked from Brandon Blakely, do we think if JVR is available that he gets traded to the Rangers? They move Miller to center. I always think there's a chance of that happening, but then I think if they make that trade, the least that the Leafs would take would be someone like Anthony DeAngelo. And so, you have to decide now, is that what you're willing to do?
That won't do it for Toronto. I think Toronto would rather keep JVR and let him walk for nothing than get less, because they're invested in this year and doing well this year.
And I think that's probably what's going to happen.
I do. Right. I think that's exactly what's going to happen. And I think that I wouldn't be shocked at the end of all of this if JVR doesn't take a little bit of a discount and stay there. I think JVR's moved around enough, and as a guy, I know him pretty well. You're in such a great situation there where you could be with a team that's dominant for the next decade. I mean,
but what's less? What's less? I mean, he's making $4.25 now. He's 29 years old when his contract is up.
5.
Are you saying
that 5 per year?
If they could get him for 5 times 5,
right, something like that.
I think that Toronto would probably do it.
Yeah, they should do it.
Yeah, but if it's anything more than that or anything longer than that, I think they're going to either trade him or let him go.
Yeah, I think he's been through enough to know that he's got a good thing going there. It depends on what happens, but he's really in a really good spot. So I think he really wants to stay there.
Last question here, Russ from William Coburn Jr. Hearing Rasmus Dahlin is the clear-cut #1 overall pick. Do you think anyone has a chance to overtake him as the top pick?
Yeah, Darlene's definitely the guy this moment, but I think Andrei Svechnikov has a definite chance to overtake him. We have to see some more tournaments, but he can really skate and light it up. He's a lot more dynamic than his brother, and so like don't match up one for the other. You know, they're completely different players. So I think Svechnikov will be in his way. So
that'll be good. That'll be good. Well, thanks guys for everybody for watching. I made our I don't have it with me, but I'll show it to you guys tomorrow. The HockeyBuzzcast t-shirts for those Patreon subscribers are in, so they'll be going out. Nice. I'm gonna have one for you tonight, Russ. Awesome. They're cool, and so basically go to patreon.com/hockey and support the show. A couple of you have done it, a couple more are doing it all the time. We really appreciate it. It doesn't take a lot, but it really helps us a ton. Like if you can do $1 a month or $5 a month, even, if everybody did $5 a month that watches the show, we'd be able to,
I would help my hat budget. This is an old hat.
We have 3 square meals,
Yeah.
So it'd be good. But thank you everyone in the chat. We really appreciate it. It's great for you guys supporting us. And if you can't support us, that's my timer.
This bake oven is done.
Remind me to pick up my child. It's still left over from before we were. Yeah. Anyway, long story. All right. So remember, guys, without the buzz, it is just hockey. I will see you, Russ, later. Down at the game tonight. Check if you're interested in the Flyers Islanders game tonight. The rookie game.
Yeah,
check Russ and I. We'll be tweeting from down there. I know it's a free game, so a lot of you are down there. If any of you guys want to meet Russ or I, just send us a little text and we can probably figure out something.
Russ, make sure you bring your Ipecac syrup.
Nah, that's what this is made for. That's what the Drink It To Us started as. Remember, without the buzz, it's just hockey. We will talk to you later.